Just gotta keep moving forward.
Hey guys, Brian here, and today I'm going to go ahead and take apart the VFC SCAR-L or Lite. I'm going to go ahead and cover how to change the charging handle, how to problem solve the charging handle and bolt catch, how to do the ambidextrous selector removal and install, and the stock, a lot of issues with the stock and how the sockets are. I'm going to cover all that, take it apart, put it back together, and show you all the parts you need to have this. Like, say if you have this rifle right now and you want to repair it, upgrade it, or do whatever, or just learn how to maintain it, this video will be great. So enjoy this video. Thanks. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. First, the field strip. I'm going to use a small punch pin and a small hammer, and I'm just going to tap gently the front body pin. It'll come out, and now you're going to notice the lower receiver can come out like so. Loud noise was the charge handle. I did not have it forward, it was locked back. So here's the lower receiver. Let's go ahead and look at parts of interest. The bolt catch and release, all one unit. These little metal prongs, you have red and black wire, and they work with the stock. If you get water in the gun, you're going to have corrosion build up, and it's going to cut electrical current going through here. So make sure you clean these once in a great while, or just check them. As long as they're shiny, you're good. Also, ambidextrous controls, very tricky, and a small set screw that holds in this button that can fall out. But other than that, if you maintain this, it'll work forever. Okay, now let's take off the stock. The stock, being brand new, will be very hard to take off. So you can either press down. I'm pressing with my thumb on the body up and pulling down with my fingers on the stock. You can use like a rubber or protected hitting device, but hitting on plastic against the metal, it might cause damage, so just be careful. As you can see, the stock will go in a tongue and groove type system and slide in place. It's very firm. As I mentioned for the wires, the fact that you can take it like this and there's no wires to get in the way, this is the reason why. These little parts connect. Let's go through the stock real quick. Also, you're going to have the points here, kind of like an old Nokia cell phone. Got to maintain those, clean them once in a while. A lot of people ask about these little screws. These screws, this one controls the bar that goes on the inside. It's a nut that sits on a piece of metal. It's just placed there. Make sure these are tight. This screw, I believe, connects to the plastic housing of this. It's very tricky. If you lose these, trying to put the screws and nuts back in, it literally takes an hour to balance everything. I'm not even going to cover it in video. Just be careful. Maintain these. Check them before you go out and play. You're fine. Stock pin. It doesn't come out. It's captured. Open. Two little metal loops. You're going to notice a little clip that holds it in place. And your wires. Uses a small mini battery or a buffer tube LiPo to fit in there. A standard brick will not fit, but buffer tube LiPo, that's fine, that works for everything. So put that aside. That's how the stock works, and I guess important notes. Now, for the charging handle, it's ambidextrous, yes, you can remove it. Let's go ahead and do that. Pull it back all the way. This comes out, and you can pull this out, and you can switch if you want cool. If you really want to do that, go for it. More importantly is the bolt. If you want that crisp bolt sound when you release the bolt release and it bam slams home, it's because it's literally all metal hitting other metal. It's very nice. It's good. Now the trick is you're going to notice one part flat, and then bent. This is fine, this is correct. How this works is, let me show you. You have the charging handle, you pull it back, it locks, and it catches like so, if you can see that. So when you press this forward, moves out of the way, bam. Can you see that? There you go. It's in the way, press in, slides past. It's very robust, very sturdy design. But you have to keep in mind, this part has to be bent just a little to catch that. If you straighten this out or if you take it to some place and like, oh, it's broken. No, that's fine. Okay, let me put this back in. There we go. Okay, now for the hop-up unit. Hop-up unit, very important. Has to be springy. If it's not springy and you put the slower in, you will break your nozzle. So, how do you get this? Cool thing is, it does come with a adjustable gas block that basically, you have your little, I think it's your front sight tool, yeah. But the cool thing is you have a T or a Torx 15 driver bit in here. With this, you can go ahead and loosen. The tool is very cumbersome. I'm just going to use another T15. Cool thing is they're held in with springs so you don't get lost. Make sure you remove them or take them out so they're not held in place. Okay, front side forward. So you're going to have 6 screws, 3 and 3. Now to take the barrel assembly out from the body, you're going to keep in mind there's a lug that's supposed to be a gas piston rod. So I'm going to slide it forward, press on the body, like so, up and out. You just slide it forward to make clearance for this, and here's your body. Put that aside, and your hop-up. As I mentioned, it's springy. It's springy so it can allow for the parts to be slid in, hence the ramp that will slide on there, but you can still damage it if it's not springy. To remove the hop-up, I'm going to use a small 1.5 Allen key. There's a small screw hole here and here. Back them out until you can see the screw. And it slides out. The screws I loosened hold on to these pegs, kind of like an M4, but locked in place. So now I can change the hop-up unit to, there's a metal version out there I've seen. I'll try to put links below. But you have a regular dial type hop-up. You can change the barrel, do whatever you want. Now to install it, slide it back in. Remember, it's springy. So what I'm going to do is press in all the way. I'm going to tighten. It's locked. Back it out a little, maybe 2 turns. It's locked in there. There's like maybe 15 turns, so it's not going to fall out or back out. And if it does, it's going to hit the side of the body, which that's another problem right there, but very likely. So tighten, hit the hop up, and back out 2 turns. Good. Let me go ahead and put this back in real quick, and I'll get started on the gearbox. So slide in. And there's clearance for these lugs here. Boom. I went too far. You want to make sure that it's flush on the front. So slide it forward. Everything uses like a tongue and groove system. Okay. Okay, that feels flush. And good. If it doesn't tighten and go down, then the holes are not lined up. And remember, the screws the bit I'm using, it's a T15 or a Torx size 15, the same that comes in the gas block. Put that back in, just so you don't lose it. It's a cool feature. And it's held with a little detail, so it's not going to just fall out unless you bump it or who knows. Tighten. Tighten. Okay, done. I'm going to go ahead and put that aside. Okay, now for the lower assembly. Let's go ahead and take it apart. I'm going to need a small Phillips, a large Phillips, a 2mm, a very small Allen, but I cheated and used a small Torx, and probably a pair of pliers and a wrench, and a punch pin. So let's go ahead and take off, and also a small 1.5 Allen. So for the mag release, it's ambidextrous. Way to take it apart is you have a small Allen screw underneath. So I'm going to squeeze, hold it together, and loosen. The screw will come out. So you have the button, the spring, and then it's going to be like a V2 gearbox, and you're going to have the issue of getting the square part through the loop that's a circle, so you have that. Now the issue with this little grub screw, you can find this at any hardware store, is there's no threading in this. This just goes through and the threading's in here. So since it's bigger, this is captured. So keep that in mind when you're working on this. This part can get lost just because you don't notice it fall out. It just did it for me on camera. Okay, so that is the mag release. Very simple. Now for the pistol grip, let's go ahead and take it apart. Just like any other VFC, you're going to have 2mm screws on the base plate and this large Allen key. That's for the motor height adjustment. It's very good. The large surface area, it doesn't really back out over time, so that's a cool feature. Okay, take this off. You have the 2 screws. Put that aside. There's no motor plate, that's nice. And a small little pair of pliers to get that. Okay, motor comes out. It's a regular lawn motor. Standard, not torquey, not speedy, whatever. Okay, and just like another M4, you're going to have the 2 screws in the bottom. A little screw will come out sometimes. For the wiring of the pistol grip, it's going to be just like an M4 where you have the 2 screws and the wires go to the back. You don't want to have a wire on either end. You want to have them both in the back. I'll show it all when I put it back together. So you're going to have the pistol grip, and the 2 screws. Put those aside. Don't lose them. Okay, it's getting different now. Be careful. So you're going to have a large Phillips and 2 small Phillips screws holding this weird plate thing. So I'm going to go ahead and it's kind of like the buffer tube screw if you think about it, but since it's folding stock, you don't have one going through buffer tube. So remove this large screw, put that aside. Then use a small Phillips. You're going to have 1, 2. You're going to have these 2 small little screws in this plate. This plate is sort of important, but not crucial. Don't lose it. Don't lose any of these parts. So put these over here. Now you're saying, what is going on here? Okay, if you look closely, you're going to see There's some red insulation and some black insulation. So what I'm going to suggest, just so you don't get it mixed up after you put this plate on, or if you're lining up, or if you change the wires, go ahead and get I have a red marker, or if you have a black marker, either or. I'm going to mark this area, so that's the red side. So the left side of the gun is left, right is black. Just so I see that in case you take this apart and you put in silicone wires and you have no idea, you just know red side's there. Okay, now what I'm going to do is lift up. I'm going to lift up, and they're spring loaded, so they're always pushing out. And they will be loose. There's a socket aspect like all VFCs, so I guess you can replace this or clean them. Just keep that in mind. But don't lose the springs or anything. They always have to be pressing out to work with this. Okay, we got those done. Now for the selectors. I'm going to put it in semi-auto mode. They're ambidextrous, so this is the tricky part. This is more tricky than the newer style VFCs. So you're going to have ambidextrous. There's still going to be the lag on the right side. That's just how airsoft guns are for the electrics. Gas blowbacks, it's one solid piece, kind of like a real gun. You have no issues. So you're going to have a little bit of lag where you can bump it just a smidge. That's fine. So I'm going to put it in semi-auto mode, and I'm going to find on the left side a small set screw. It's 1.5 Allen. I'm going to press because it's spring loaded, back it out a little, hold it flat, and a small ball bearing fell out. So I'm going to have a ball bearing, a spring, a screw in there, and this main selector. I'm going to put the ball bearing in the little cup, ball in the cup, every kid's favorite game. Put that over there, and I'm going to section the table of left side, right side, just so it's easy. So that's going to be on the left side. You're going to see this part, you're like, there's more? Yes, there's more. And you notice if you over tighten or under tighten, you're going to have a small little divot for the little set screw. It's basically a flat piece of metal. There's no recess for it to go into to securely lock it. So you do have to regularly maintain these parts, or rely on the thickness of that screw head to help hold it in place. Up to you, but always maintain your rifles. So I'm going to flip it over. No screw on this side, but it's on the top. Same thing as before. Loosen, hold it down, and up, the bearing is in the semi-auto mode. Same thing, screw, spring, ball bearing, put that in there, and put it on the right side. So now I have this little part. Just to leave headache, always use a pair of pliers, gently pinch, and remove. The reason why I do that is you don't want to turn this and mess it up and further confuse. So put that on the right side. Flip it over, same thing. And you just don't want to like twist things when you're torquing them. And put that on the left side. This looks like a full auto, it looks like the body pin you'd have like for an M4. It's just fake. You don't need to tap it out or anything. So once I have the selectors off, the mag release out, the grip of course, and these parts, I can slide out. So let me go ahead and slide. It will be a tight fit. And I'm trying to look at the orientation of these parts. I already know them, I'll show you how to, but just so you can, if you follow along, you can further enlighten yourself. Gosh dang it, Bobby. Okay, that didn't work. So you're gonna see these little parts and this arm thing and the selector plate, and you're like, oh crap, how do I do this? Real quick. It goes together. You're gonna have a line and a line and a line. These are the same. So what I'm gonna do is, it's a peace sign. Like that. if you can see that. Because remember how these pieces fit? It's on semi-auto mode. That's how it goes. But let me go ahead and take this apart and show you. Now, as I mentioned in my PHX-15, which is the current VFC ambidextrous, you're going to have just like these parts are loose and they can pop out. With this, it's very tricky. Have these little set screws. Not a big fan of these. These are like the system spec. For the motor pinions, it's the 0.5 or 0.5 Allen key. Very tiny. I was able to cheat with a old Torx tool, jam it in there. No one really has these screws. It just sucks. That's why they went with the other one, like the PHX design. So I'll explain that. But first, I already loosened it. I tap it out. Basically for this, I'm going to keep one side tight, other side loose. It's a rectangle, so it locks in there. And it's pretty good, but you still have that wiggle of the gear teeth for that delay or that lag. So I'm gonna put that in the middle and deal with that later. Now let me go ahead and open this up. Fingers on the cylinder, spring guide. You can use the tool technique like that if you like, but old school, just lift up and out. Okay, with the spur gear, basically this little collar came off. That's fine. It's loose. That's the spring loaded gears. Let me strip this out real quick. Spring, I think it's like 400 or 380 FPS, cool. Metal bearing spring guide, put those aside. For the compression set, you're gonna have a tappet plate. Pretty flexible, cool. It's the clear type. This is the older version of the VFC. New version is gonna be the red polycarb. It's version 2, so you can replace this if needed. O-ring on the nozzle, that's nice. Polycarb cylinder head, nothing too special, and a chrome M4 cylinder. It's good for the barrel length. Aluminum ported piston head and a polycarb piston body with only one metal tooth and the second tooth cut. So that's cool. This is the old type. The new types will be the red ones like you see in the Jaguar's PHX-15. Pretty good compression, weird grease, but okay, let's put that aside. For the gears, okay, you're recording. For the gears, you're gonna have the spring loaded, as you can see. If it's the gearbox on there, it's gonna be like that. It only goes down a little more. It's just to prevent the gears from wiggling, but there are shims underneath to level them out. As you can see, a little bit of grease. It's not rubbing, it's not bad, it's just a different way to do it. So it's just a weird misconception on the internet. Okay, bevel gear comes off, sector, reversal latch, and spur gear. There are shims there. Yeah, shims. It's fine. I'm gonna go ahead and take it apart more. Oh, first off, for the trigger, you have full auto. Well, let's stop like that. You have semi-auto, and you have safe mode. So that's kind of cool. Trigger. And for the safety, you're gonna have several parts. You're gonna have the part that works with the cutoff lever, part that works with the trigger, the spring, and the little screw that holds it together. Put those aside. For the wire harness, I'm going to take it all out. You're going to have the little, oh, it's stuck, and the little screw, trigger contact, the spring, and the wire harness. All standard version 2 parts, so you can easily replace this with GMP or whatever you like on the market. So that's cool. Or if you want to do like the Chimeras, cool. And as I mentioned, you have these little parts in the back. You don't want to take them apart or mess with them. Remember, I still have this one red just in case I don't see that. So let's kind of just leave that, put that over there. Cutoff lever, as you can see, it's wiggly. I'm gonna take this off and just show you. Whoa. It comes off with a little screw. Cutoff lever, it's pot metal, and the little spring. So you're gonna have these little parts for the cutoff lever. Put those over here, and for the selector plate, slide off and past. Here's a selector plate. It's clear polycarb. Not really gonna break unless you install the gears wrong and you crank it in there. So be gentle with it. And again, I'm gonna do my best to find spare parts for this and put it in the links. So in case you break something, you can watch this video and hopefully buy the replacement parts. I'm not getting paid to do this. I just want to help. Okay, let's put this all back together. Okay, now let me go ahead and put this back together. So first up, selector plates on, grab the cutoff lever. Be careful with the shims. If you're gonna do the shimmings or the shim of your new gear set, that's gonna be a whole different video. Just putting this back together. So grab the little screw and tighten. Hand tighten and check. It wiggles, that's good. Flip it over and put the spring. Spring is held in. You have the little peg and a little peg on the cutoff lever, like that. Okay, now let's put in the wire harness. Go ahead and slide in the trigger contact and drop it in. You're gonna notice a little peg on here and a little screw hole on here. You wanna make sure they're lined up and it's pressed and you can wiggle it and it's not gonna come out. Go ahead and get your little Phillips screw and line it up. Tighten, good. Little spring. And use a little hook or a pick and pull. And good. So it's like that. Okay, now for the wire harness and the wires. You want to make sure you have the red wire going to the back on the lowest part. So first, insert the wires, as you can see. So the wire going to the back, make sure that's on the bottom. The reason being is when you install the wires and the motor, if it's the opposite way, when you put the motor in and turn it on, it's just going to spin, cut this, short it out, and either pop your lipo or just do damage. You don't want to do that. So make sure it's on the lowest setting, out of the way. A good way to check is look through this Gearbox little window and see, make sure the wire is not in the way. Cool. Now for the safety parts, go ahead and install the little peg here, the spring, a little safety bar. This part hits the trigger, and add the screw. Just hand tighten. It's going to be in plastic, so you don't want to over tighten because you will break it. So if you look closely, you'll see just like that. Okay, now for the trigger, just like a regular version 2 M4. You have the whole axle insert like that, and gently pop it in place. Might as well press the little spring down. So instead of the spring like right on the edge of the gearbox, it might pop out. Just push it down here, and it's good. Cool, done. Go ahead and add the gears. The shims are still there. Good amount of grease holds them in place, so that's nice. For the reversal latch, I'm going to put the spring like that, grab the reversal latch, and put it like that. You want the sharp corner facing the bevel gear. So it'll be like that. Grab the bevel gear, I'm going to press on the axle of the reversal latch and put the gear in. Done. Okay, let's go ahead and finish this. My warranty sticker is still intact. Sweet. Let me just gently bend it. Ooh. You have the tappet plate, the nozzle. It slides on there. It can go any way basically. Slide it on. Boom. Done. And drop this in. You want to make sure that the hole or the peg on the cylinder or the gearbox on the cylinder head lines up, and also check that the rectangle, or I guess the corner for the cylinder lines up. So it's nice and flush. And you can rub your fingers on the back side here, and you can feel that it's flush, and that means it's lined up. Go ahead and attach your spring, like so. So basically you have load, fire, load, fire, load, fire as your gear's spinning. Cool. Now say if you put this together and your gun's shooting, it sounds good, it cycles everything, but it's not loading the BBs, or the BBs are just kind of falling out the barrel. It's because your tappet plate's either broken or it's not attached, and it's just literally sitting like this, and the BB's going up and just getting forced with the air. So, spring and spring guide. Also, side note, make sure your piston is lined up on your rails. Make sure it's lined up. If it's at a weird angle and you install it, let me try to recreate that. If it's at a weird angle, it doesn't look right, but that can happen sometimes if the spring pushes it. It will cause it to break and strip. Make sure it's lined up like so, and you're good. Okay, put this in, and I'm just going to be a dork. I'm going to do my best to keep this sticker intact, so I'm just going to gently bend it. If this is your rifle, you can take the sticker off, you can do whatever. I'm just being dumb. Okay, double check. It looks good. I'm going to close it. So fingers on the cylinder. Spring, the little sticker is good. Slide this in. And let me show you real quick. You have those little pegs on the spring guide. Holds it in place 9 and 3 o'clock. So close it, done. Flush, flush, flush sticker, yeah. Press it like that, good. Now, check your tappet plate, spring's good. Check the piston, it slides back. It's on the track, that's good. Done. Pull trigger, cool. This moves, cool. Good, done. Let's go ahead and close it with the screws. Make sure you use the correct screws for the holes. You have flat, dome, cone. Very straightforward, but just make sure, otherwise it won't fit in the body correctly. almost done. Bear with me. Okay, now we have the selector parts. How are we going to install this again? Well, let's start on that side. Okay, so I'm going to take the one arm, wiggle it in, line it up through the little hole. Good. I'm going to take the secondary little part. Remember, I still have the little screw backed out. I have the screw backed out. I'm just going to press it on there. That is the lazy way, but it's so hard to find those little screws or the Allen keys. So good. It's not going to go anywhere. It's going to be pressed by the body, so it's good. Flip it over, and remember how I took it apart? You have the peace sign. So you have these two little pegs that work with this that are the direction for semi-auto mode. So you have the one button, semi. So I'm just going to drop it in like that. Done. There's a little play, but it will sit like that. And then once you have the body in, it's nice and good. So you have the line at 12 o'clock, and then you have like the 7 o'clock. But you have these two little peg holes at the 9 and 3 o'clock. That's all you need. Flip it over. I'm just gonna thumb here, flip it, and the same thing. This one will be tricky. I'm gonna make a second video just to show in case I miss something. So flip it. It's good. This one is gonna be the feisty one. You'll see. Press on that bolt catch. Bring the wires through. Okay. You're gonna notice, oh no, I dropped it. Okay, before I get started, you're gonna have slots. That is for these to slide in. This will be very frustrating, so just take your time and don't rush it. Because if you do, you will break your selector plate, and that means you can't use it until you buy a new one. So take your time. Hopefully I will make the errors, show you the mistakes, how to fix it, so in case you do the same thing, you can do that without breaking any parts. I'm not going to break it, but just saying, like, for the install, like how parts fall out. Okay, so I have it still lined up at the 9 and 3 o'clock. I'm going to press, flip it over, and match it. This side's the more important side for the alignment and install. Okay, good. As I slide in, my finger cannot hold it, but it's still at the lineup spot. This side, on the other hand, it slipped. I'll show you how to do that. So first, take this off. I'll deal with that later. Slide this in, down. Okay, let me double check. Okay, I just use this to level out, make it 9 and 3 o'clock. This side you can't get in here because of this gap. So what I'm gonna do is gently pull out just a little. Still watching here. Flip over, it's not gonna move. Now I'm going to drop this part in, like so, into the groove, and use a small tool to press it in. And slide it back. It's still at 9 and 3 o'clock, that's good. So now use a small pin and pop it. See how it just dropped in place? It will be held in place once you have the selector in. Almost done. Okay. This is fine. It's good. This part, it's off. See how it's at a weird angle? So what I'm going to do is lift up, orientate. Good. You might have to move it, like you push it up, rotate, depending on like when it's up here, and then drop it down so it matches. Now the test is put these parts back in and check. You be gentle with them and you won't break it. Just hold that and tighten. Good. Flip over. And if you make a mistake of left and right side, it doesn't matter. It's just you don't want to make weird wear marks. And okay. Now I'm going to add the right side selector. I'm going to be using, I didn't take the spring out and the bearing's still there. So I'm going to put the bearing on the back side so the spring grabs it. Press in and tighten. Just hand tighten, don't over tighten. Flip it over. It's still semi-auto mode, it's good. Same thing, add the bearing, spring is still there, drop it in, and tighten. Hand tighten, good. Moment of truth, let's check. I could be wrong, I could have made a mistake, I could be off by a tooth or something, but let's check. So you should be able to see from that. Semi, good. I mean, safe, my bad. Full auto. They move in unison, I'm just being delicate with it, but if I move to semi, moves to semi, it's off a smidge. That spring and detent just has to jump in place. But you have full auto, semi, and safe. There will be a little play. As you can see, it's because of the little spring and the ball bearing, how it rests in there. It just needs a little ludge. But once it's broken, it's going to be curved and it's going to slide right in. So, cool, done. I will make a secondary video on how to do that with more top views in case you didn't like how I did that. So, I'll put the link or the video somewhere there. Okay. Let's continue putting this back together since it's flat. Perfect to work on here. Slide that in. Slide that in the little springs. Press it down. Grab your little part. Press. Boom. Good. And get the large screw. And this screw is just like the buffer tube screw, just holds it in place. Tighten. Good. Now let's go for the mag release. It is very tricky, how I mentioned before. The screw only is threaded into here. There's no threading in here, so it's going to be tricky. So slide this in. Good. It pops through. Add your spring and your button with the screw hole facing down, bottom. Press it in. I'm going to squeeze, but I still have access to the screw hole. So grab the screw, slide it in, and tighten. I don't think that's in there. Maybe. Okay, there we go. Good. Good. Springy. Okay. Now for the pistol grip. Like always, you're going to have red in the front, black in the back, through the holes like that. Pop it on just like a regular M4. And get your 2 little Phillips screws. Tighten. You just want to hand tighten, otherwise if it's too tight, you're going to have a problem taking this off next time. Tighten, good. Now for the wires, I'm going to push them to the back. As you can see, it's springy, and I have both wires in the back section. So they come up, wrap around, and up like that. And just press down on these little tabs, like that, to attach the wires. It's still springy. Good. Press and hold. It's going to be somewhat flush. And tighten the screws. Whoa, table mat. Okay, done. Okay, now let's go ahead and put this back together. So you have the lower, you have the upper, the barrel is set, and you have your stock. So put the lower there. For the stock, you want to make sure that your little spring for your charging handle is lined up and somewhat flush. Go ahead and slide this down. It's going to line up and be flush right here and along the top. There's no gaps. You want to look in a little spot here and here, and you'll see that. And you're like, okay, it's good. Now, for the lower assembly, you're going to have the springy function of hop-up unit you have to be careful with because it's plastic, and you have a plastic nozzle, so be careful. Then you're going to have these 2 little metal tabs and this little protrusion or lug that will lock into the part here. So what we want to do is also a little bolt release. It'll get stuck sometimes in there and get in the way. So press, I'm going to pivot, line up, it's flush like that, and drop down. And now I'm like, hey, the hop-up unit is in the way. So what I'm going to do is make sure it's over, it's good. I'm use a small punch pin and gently push the hop-up unit forward. I'm just pushing on the back section of it, away from the dials, away from the bucking, but just on the plastic section instead of forcing it down. Also, make sure that this punch pin or this body pin is forward. So I'm gonna press, hop up forward. I'm making progress, and good, cool. It dropped in place. Now if I look in that little hole, I'm going to see that the hole for the body and the upper receiver are kind of like eclipsed, they're offset. So what I'm going to do is press and listen. Cool, now it's lined up. So I can go ahead and tap it. Being that it's a new rifle, you still have to kind of gently or more forcefully press the parts together like so. But now the lock's in place and you're good to go. So hopefully this video has been helpful on how to take apart the VFC SCAR-L. I'm going to make a secondary video just again to cover the ambidextrous selector on how to install it in case this video was not suitable for you guys, or in case you want like a second set of eyes. So I'm going to do my best to help you guys on that. So again, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Share this video with your friends. I know a lot of people have this rifle, and I always see this pop up on how do you take this apart. So hopefully this video helps you guys. If you guys have any other video suggestions like, hey, work on this gun, work on that gun, you know, I can check with some local stores and say, can I borrow a gun, and I can make it happen to help you guys. So with that being said, thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you, and bye.